Matt Walsh is back. So this lady is going to try and drop an illusion.
Look it up. It's literally, I'm telling you, I learned it from my anatomy class.
She's going to pull out her phone and say, I'll just Google it right now. And then she just literally puts her phone back in her pocket and doesn't Google anything. It's truly remarkable.
You don't talk about the happy people in the trans community and how these preventative measures of, let's say, like puberty, surgeries that go for gender affirmation, and how these are life-changing and life-saving.
Well, they certainly are life-changing. What do you mean by life-saving? This is a claim we hear thrown around a lot.
I know many people.
How do you know?
Oh, okay.
And he spots this and he hones in on it.
Many people in my life have had these interventions made, and it's saved their lives.
So that's the claim. Therefore, had they not done this, they would have died, according to you. Okay, so you're going to have to prove how it has saved their lives.
I can list dozens of people in my life.
You can list dozens of people who had surgeries and drugs as children and would be dead today if they hadn't?
How would you know that? How would you know that they would not be alive today?
Because the burden of proof is on you on this one. And I'll explain why the burden of proof is on you. Because as I went over in the talk, for thousands of years, human beings existed, and there was no such thing as trying to medically transition people into another gender. And as far as we know, there was no suicide epidemic because of it. And then in the last few years, people like yourself have come along and said, we desperately need to do this, or people will be in despair and they might kill themselves.
You're the one advocating for life-altering procedures on minors in this case.
So you are making a claim that contradicts common sense, science, biology, also the entire experience of the whole history of the human race.
This is a modern phenomenon. We have no data to pull on from the past. So when you are making claims like this, the burden of proof is on you.
And so what that means is that the burden of proof is on you to support it. And so I'm going to ask you, you said that people need this stuff so they can live happier lives and potentially it'd be life-saving, you said even. Aside from your anecdotes of your friends who told you so, how do you know that?
He returns right back to that core logical problem of like, how are you going to know something like this? It's the most common pattern that we see. It's the same thing that happened with the J.K. Rowling video. It's the same thing that's happened in countless videos.
Okay, so thinking back to when I was 16 in an anatomy class, when I learned that transgender people tend to have the brain structure that confirms their identity that they identify with.
So she's going to use the argument that Professor Dave, who's not even a professor, he's a YouTuber who throws out this claim with a lot of certainty and confidence and makes it sound very scientific.
And you can look that up. That's a fact.
I will look that up.
Yeah, it's a fact.
The moment that you start to question it logically, it crumbles. They just say, no, it's a fact and you can look it up. It's the same thing Professor Dave did.
It's a fact.
I will look that up and I won't find it.
Yeah.
It's not a fact. It's not a fact.
Should we all pull out Google really quick and look?
Notice that she doesn't Google it though. She just says, I could Google it. It's no different than the mentalist on Joe Rogan telling us that he can do something and then doing the opposite, but we heard the word, so we feel like he could do it.
Okay. Look.
So you're saying a trans man has the brain of a woman?
No.
So Professor Dave is putting forth the argument that all of this is grounded in biology. His argument comes down to all trans women are born with a brain deformity, because if we were able to scan the neurochemistry, we would see in the structure of the brain, it is not like the typical brain.
I'm saying that a trans man who identifies as a man will tend to have similar brain structure that a cis man would.
And where did you get that from?
So how do you know that? Are you able to scan the brain? Because the moment you examine this argument, you'll recognize that there's no research backing this up.
Look it up. It's literally, I'm telling you, I learned it from my anatomy class when I was 16. And I looked up the fact before I walked up here because I knew that you'd ask.
Okay, if he can look it up, why can't you look it up for us right now?
Okay. That's not true, but it also doesn't answer the question. So let's try to stay focused on one false claim at a time if we can, because we might get bogged down.
Okay.
So now Matt Walsh is going to tie it all together and emphasize why this is so important.
You actually started by saying that blocking puberty, which is chemical castration of a child,
Just one example, yeah.
is life-saving.
It can be.
How do you know?
He just needs to return to the question of how do you know this? And she's not going to be able to respond to that. She's just going to do the same thing we already saw play out.
Because there are children who have been suicidal that have had these interventions made.
What children? How do you know? And how many children have had that done
Me personally,
and then
I
are
haven't
still
met
suicidal?
children. Me personally, I haven't met enough trans children to answer that question.
Okay.
But I know
You
that
are
the research exists.
I could look it up right now if I wanted to. And she's just going to rinse and repeat.
You're making this statement, you're stating it as a fact in front of all these people. There must be a reason, there must be something that you encountered that led you to this rather radical conclusion that to save a child's life, you have to chemically castrate him.
Not every child. No, sir.
Okay. Well, that is what you just said. The drugs we give to kids for puberty blockers, so-called puberty blockers, originally are cancer drugs used to treat prostate cancer. They're also used to chemically castrate sex offenders and child rapists. Now we give them to physically healthy kids. You're saying that we need to do that or they will die. And so one last time I'm going to ask you, what evidence do you have of that remarkable claim?
I don't think I claimed that every child would benefit from that.
Well, no, I didn't say you did. You said puberty blockers are. You said puberty blockers are life-saving. What evidence do you have for that?
They can be.
So now she tries to walk it back.
The evidence is the encounters with patients who have had these procedures done, and it has saved their, I don't want to say it saved their lives, but it has made their lives better.
I don't want to claim that it saved their lives, and yet that's exactly what you did earlier.
And it's saved their lives.
But now you've recognized your mistake.
I can't confirm whether or not they're alive right this second, but there are children that it has helped.
How do we even measure it helped them? If you give someone an opiate to relieve pain, you could say it helped them. But if they continue on that opiate for months, is it helping them? Where's the level of analysis?
So what do you have to say for the happy trans community who has benefited from these procedures? That's my question.
I guess what I have
to
say is that your entire question is built on a whole stack of false premises that you can't begin to even remotely defend.
So Matt does the only thing you can do and point that out.
So it's a faulty question from the start. I reject your premise.
And just simply reject the whole thing because it's built upon a house of cards.
I absolutely reject that there are any kids who need to be chemically castrated in order to be happy.
Okay, let's...
I reject that.
It's so frustrating because you see this so often, and all it is at the end of the day is an illusion. It's no different than The Mentalist with Joe Rogan. I don't want to touch it. Here, so you do it. And then he literally gets up and puts his hand in the envelope. But we heard the word, so surely he's not going to touch it. It's this battle of what we see with our own eyes versus what we hear. It's one of the oldest tricks in the book. It's one of the most common things that you will encounter.